Now, that's all in good as long as you are your authentic self. And for a lot of years, I kept pretending that I was somebody who I thought I should be, as opposed to allowing myself to be who I was meant to be. Once I made that breakthrough and I understand how to be my authentic self and how to allow my negative qualities, because I'm super goofy and serious and I've never been able to fit into that suits kind of world, I had to figure out how I could be me and still relate to all of those people, right? So once I did that and I was able to achieve my authentic self, that's when I kind of was at the right point where I could go and start my own company and create a brand that reflected my personality.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella's story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Welcome back to Capital Hacking. Your buddy Josh here with John Edwin.
What's up, everyone?
All right, so Capital Hacking has been scouring the world for some of the most incredible guests to teach us about human capital and about leveraging all kinds of great relationships. So we brought in Glenn Haussman today, friend of ours, someone I've been watching for 4, maybe 5 years. He has a specialty that I think not all of us do, but he really has dove deep into podcasting. He chose how to niche down. He's actually famous for a show called No Vacancy. It's all about investing in resorts and hospitality and all the different industries, all the different parts of hospitality. So we had a killer show. One of my surprise teachings today, which I think you're going to want to hear, are his 3 universal steps to success, which, by the way, John and I completely agree with. It's worth the price of admission, John.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn dives deep on how he builds relationships. And also he talks about a flow zone, how he gets into the flow zone and creates a brand. And that brand equals his authentic self. He talks about how he was and looked at himself, how the world wanted him to be, and how he is now living his most authentic life. You want to listen to this episode. It's amazing.
Amazing. Talk to you soon. Let's go. Welcome back to Capital Hacking. It's Josh, and today John Edwin is here.
Let's go. Really excited to be in the house.
So today I got my new buddy, my good buddy, actually. I shouldn't say new because I've known Glenn for like 5 years now, but we've never had Mr. Glenn Haussman on the podcast before. So for the audience who hasn't met you yet, Glenn, can you share where you're from? Where do you live? And do you have a family?
Hey, how are you? I'm finally glad that you went through all the good guests and you're getting to me. So number one, we'll start with that. Yeah, so I'm coming at you. I do a podcast a few days a week called No Vacancy Live. I do all sorts of content within the hospitality industry. And I get to do a lot of keynote speeches and moderating and have so much fun connecting all the dots in hospitality under my mantra, educating, empowering, and entertaining.
Okay, now that mantra would work in any industry. Let me write that down. Educating.
Empower, entertain, trademark. So don't take it from me.
Is it really? I'm very proud of you.
No, but I should really do that at the end of this call because now that you're on to me. Oh
no, and that's actually why I grabbed you here, buddy. And John Edwin and I are excited about what capital hacking does for so many people. It talks about the dignity of the person, right? And the fact is the power to create things is within the people. Right. And whenever I'm around you, you're like running major conferences, you're up on the stage, I saw you in front of a panel recently at one of the biggest hospitality conferences, and you're one of the you're the moderator of the keynote panel. Okay. The biggest panel I went to, and you rocked it. You know your industry. Thanks. First of all, how the hell did you get on that stage? What's the backstory to your career?
Well, getting on that stage, was a little bit more complicated because those particular events, not only do you not get paid for them, but they expect you to pay sponsorship fees to go ahead and be a panelist. So that was never an option for me. So I had to take the hard scrabble route and start from scratch. And that meant figuring out how to be a speaker, figuring out how to communicate in a way that people are going to not just learn, but respond to accordingly and not fall asleep. So I spent years and years and years slowly chipping away at that skill set until I finally figured it out. And the good news is there's always something to learn every single day. And it's a lot of fun being able to do it.
Well, your original career, I think there's a lot to learn here, guys.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, my original career was being
tell us
a
about
writer.
That, this is cool.
So
Okay.
my original career was being a news writer, and that was like behind the scenes, and that was not really face to face interactions with people. In fact, when I first started in the hospitality industry, and I have a whole secret life in music and entertainment around this time that was for another day. But when I first went into hospitality, the internet wasn't really much of a thing. It was there, and there was one computer in the office that had the connection to the internet. But to put it into terms that you hoteliers out there would understand, it's back in the day when it was just internet brochures, right? The late
Yes.
1990s,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of that sort of a thing. So the world was very different, and I just would call people up and interview them and do articles. I was kind of on the shy side. I hadn't really found myself, and I most certainly hadn't found my voice as a writer, or dare I say, a person in my mid to late 20s, right? So I realized at some point that that was going to be a dead end. And all careers have some sort of natural arc, but they may not be as long as your life and your needs in life. And I fully realized if I wanted to make anything that was going to put my kids through college, and if I wanted to expand my horizons, I needed to do several things. And number one was become a great communicator in order to create a brand that was affiliated with myself, either my own name, I am the brand, or I create a brand that's affiliated with me in order to be able to maximize my opportunity as the decades went on.
Now that was step one. Is there a 3-part strategy that you've learned?
I've learned a lot of different things. So that was just the speaking part. So then let's go into the relationship building part, because you can't really do one without the other, right? So at this point in my career, I've been working on building relationships for 25 years-ish, give or take, here in the hospitality industry. That meant attending as many events as I possibly could, whether or not I wanted to, whether or not I was going to get something out of it. But I realized that just by being there, being present, people always say, is half the game. And you know what? That is absolutely on target. Because once you're there, at least you're in the club, you're in the conversation, and it's up to you to be able to make strides. Now, I don't want to give anyone the indication that it was something that was easy. It most certainly was not. In fact, I think back to my earliest stage trying to network, walking into rooms, feeling so overwhelmed, I had to turn around, and sometimes I wouldn't even go back. So it takes time, and it takes presence, and it takes guts sometimes to do it. But you get in there and you start making relationships. One tip I quickly figured out is to always make the conversation about those people. Let them ask you questions, but turn it around on them, because people love talking about themselves. Look what a good time I'm having right now talking about myself, right? So if you could get people to feel good because they're talking about themselves, they're going to go away from the conversation, not remembering the words you said, but how you made them feel. And that also applies to what you do on stage. So it's important to always be constantly out there, making relationships, making it about. And then I guess the third component, if we have to have one of those cliche 3-legged stool analogies, is to offer that value to somebody. What are you bringing to it? Sure, it's great that I'm a great speaker, and sure, it's great that I know how to make you feel good about yourself, but how is that moving the needle for what's important to you in your life? And within this context, I guess that's your career, your business life, your monthly sales goals, whatever that might be. So how am I able to add value to that? And I quickly figured out over time, I could do it in different ways. Originally, it might be you could curry favor with somebody and vice versa by getting them on a panel that you're moderating. So I was able to network, meet people, and then get the opportunity to do a panel where maybe I could name some people to be on those panels, and then bring those folks on there, which reinforces that relationship, right? And then all of a sudden you're friends, and now you're on each other's team, right? Yeah. And you do that time and time again and year after year, and you really start to add value to a lot of people in that way. And the other way that I was able to add value, and a lot of folks can't do that, but I had the power of the media behind me. So people were more inclined to want to talk to me because I immediately had something in for them, right? So it was easier for me to break into a lot of these conversations that other people might have some more challenges. But at the end of the day, if I wasn't good at what I did and didn't listen to them and tell their story in a way that meets my ethical code while satisfying them, that's kind of that third stool that kind of makes everything kind of work together, at least in my world. And I predominantly just do podcasts and videos and on-stage appearances and celebrity endorsements and stuff It's basically the same thing, just shaken up a little bit and done in a different format.
Josh, Glenn just crushed it.
Yeah, those are some great points.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I got
I'll tell you what, I'm feeling in the zone right now, which is another really important thing when it comes to the technique and networking and being on stage. It's finding ways to make yourself be your most authentic self. I don't know why, but right now I just happen to be really in the flow zone. Josh, I was in a pretty good space when I did that panel that you were referring to before, right? But if you could get into this zone that I'm in right now, everything is effortless. I wasn't even thinking really about what I was telling you. I was almost observing it and not participating in it. And if there's anything that you all could do to get into that zone, I think maybe we could add another leg to that stool that we're talking about here. Because preparation and being in the right mindset is equally important as all of those things. Because if you walk in with a hangover to a networking event and you're not on top of your game, then you're not really going to be able to utilize that time productively. If you're on stage and haven't gotten a good night's sleep the night before, your brain's going to be working a little bit slower and you're going to have to work harder. And the harder you have to work, the less opportunity you're going to have to hit that flow zone and allow the universe just to take care of you.
So, Glenn, what is it that you do to hit the flow zone that you're talking about?
For me, it comes in different ways. Today, for some reason, I think I hit it because I had today's a religious holiday. For me, fish tickets went on sale for the holiday run at Madison Square Garden. So it's a big deal. There's a lot of emotional preparation and anxiety to go through before Ticketmaster lets
When you
through.
said religious holiday, Josh and I got
know.
really serious and we were waiting for not fish ticket. We're like, what fish? What holiday?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was a very merry Fishmas for me because I got tickets for the 3 shows that I was hoping for. But seriously speaking, so that just put me in a good mood. And I had a couple of positive phone calls today that went my way for once, So I just came into this feeling good. Plus, when we're done recording this, I've got to start getting into the right mode because I do a comedy drinking happy hour show on Friday evening. So I've got to go and get my cocktails set ready to go.
Are we all invited to that party?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys should come.
What
You
time
guys,
and where?
it's called a Friday Night Audit. That's Friday evenings at 5 p.m. East Coast time, 2:00 California time. You can find it on, all of No Vacancies outlets, my LinkedIn page, my Facebook page, all of that kind of good stuff. It's fun because it's different than what we do on No Vacancy, which is more, we have fun and we laugh and I try to be my authentic self, which is kind of goofy. But instead of talking to CEOs about the important issues they have, on Friday Night Audit, it's all about making fun of each other and having that vibe of friends at a bar after the conference where you could really let loose.
Love that. Love that.
Then a satisfactory answer to the flow zone. I like that. It was today just happened to be a Fishmas day, as he said. But in general, I actually want to go over the 3 points because you nailed it, buddy.
Yeah.
Even if you were in the Fishmas zone, flow zone, you said identify who you are as a brand. What is it that what is your gift to the world? What are you working on? 2, commit to the relationships, invest in the time, get to the networking and meet the people, build relationships
And learn their story, right?
Right.
That's big.
Because if you don't know their story, you can't add them value, right? So, like, for example, if I'm on a sales call, right? I hate the notion of sales. I fought tooth and nail against it for year after year after year. I had no choice anymore when I went off on my own and I decided to follow this passion of talking for a living, right? So I have to do all of my sales. So it's complicated in that sense that you have to really do that sell. And in order to do the right sell, I've discovered over a lot of failures is you need to understand what their strategy is. What is the story that they want to tell? What makes them special? What separates it from just being a commodity, right? So you have to ask the right questions.
What's the right question? That's a great answer to the whole question of how sales really should work. We call it sales are sacred. But before we talk about sales are sacred, what are the questions that help you get to the heart of what someone needs and wants?
Right. So the fundamental mistake is people think it's about, like, if you're the salesperson, in this case, I am, the big mistake is I could think it's about me. It's not about me. Nobody gives an F about me in this context, right? They care about a mechanism that will help them achieve XYZ goals. So in order to understand how you could actually help them, as opposed to giving them a product that's of no use to them and is a waste of everyone's time and could damage a relationship, it's important to ask the right questions. What is their strategy? What do they hope to achieve by working with me? What are some of the things that you might want to do that are creative? What is your company culture like? How can I pair stuff up with that for my service of offerings that I particularly have? Now, for each and every one of you folks out there, you're not selling media type stuff. It's a different product, but essentially it's the same idea. It's the same concept that they have particular goals and you have a vehicle to do it. You just have to ask the questions that lead them down the path to give you the answers to the questions of how you'll be able to fulfill that sales promise to them and create a good relationship.
This quick little break, we want to hear from my beautiful wife, Melanie, and all the people that support us here at Accountable Equity and Capital Hacking. We'll be right back after that.
Hi, this is Melanie McCallan. Josh and I are just so grateful for the many investors who already joined us at Accountable Equity. Accountable Equity is so much more than a capital group. It's really a community of accredited investors that want to learn and grow together. I just want to personally invite you, if you want to find out more about this type of investment and see if it's right for you and your family, please visit us at accountableequity.com.
All right, we are coming back. Glenn, we're back on stage here. What? So, John and I are new at being co-hosts together.
Right.
Feel free, grab it anytime, because it's got to be like dynamic. I mean, I got John over here. He's a world-class athlete. I'm like, Joe, take it. Tackle that mic.
Listen to how much we like each other, by the way.
Yep.
You're sharing AirPods, so he's got the right AirPod. I have the left AirPod.
Ridiculous.
And we're sharing a microphone. So that's how close we've become, Josh.
Well, and it's regrettable because we spent a half hour trying to get the tech right, but we said, screw it, go back to planning 7.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I have a question for you, Glenn. You're
Yes,
talking
sir.
about building your brand. So what does that look like for you? How did you figure out you wanted?
So for me, in my particular instance, my personal brand is my brand, no vacancy. So for me, it's really important to reflect as much as possible the authenticity of who I am as a human being. Now, that's all in good as long as you are your authentic self. And for a lot of years, I kept pretending that I was somebody who I thought I should be, as opposed to allowing myself to be who I was meant to be. Once I made that breakthrough and I understand how to be my authentic self and how to allow my negative qualities, because I'm super goofy and serious and I've never been able to fit into that suits kind of world, I had to figure out how I could be me and still relate to all of those people, right? So once I did that and I was able to achieve my authentic self, that's when I kind of was at the right point where I could go and start my own company and create a brand that reflected my personality. And to me, it's kind of like, if you're watching this right now, you see the Las Vegas sign that's behind me. I didn't mean to put that up there. It just happened to come up on today, and because I have a variety of backgrounds. And that's kind of got the right vibe for me. So mine is like an old school 1960s motel. Our Friday night audit thing is, I swear, has that same sort of star logo,
Okay.
like that space age era.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That era in American history is one of optimism, right? The Rat Pack era, all of those things, those positive things that we can note with it, kind of go to my overall personality and who I am. Plus, conveniently, I think it shows the fun side of hospitality and tells the audience that this is a fun type of thing that you could get behind. It's not going to be blah. It's not going to be serious. And hopefully they realize I'm not going to be boring.
So that was excellent, by the way. Thank you so much. How did you, because I think a lot of people struggle with this, how did you go from a place where you thought you were being authentic because of who the world wanted you to be, if I heard that correctly?
Yes, correct.
To a place to now where you are who you are and you're
Right.
comfortable with that? I think a lot of people struggle with that particular gap. How did you go
They
from,
do.
How did you
So
go past that?
So I think the first thing you have to do is you have to realize you're in that trap. And it's hard. For me, it was an epiphany because that's not something that we're taught or told. We're all raised within whatever societal construct that we happen to be in. And when it came to my particular era of going into the working world, I was supposed to adopt some sort of character to play out there in the working world. I'm a hippie jam band kid that just wanted to go to Fish shows after college. And thank goodness I got those tickets and I can still do it 30 years later. But that's my personality. You know, I never wanted to wear a suit. I never wanted to, go, hey, how are you, sir? Let's talk about the stock market. That's just not me. And it could never be me. Right. But that's the environment in hospitality that I was kind of thrust into. So without consciously thinking about it, I think that we all take on the persona of what is around us. And that's why I say what the world thinks we should be, because that societal construct that I mentioned is pushing you in that right direction. So we don't even realize that we have that opportunity to have that epiphany, if we're lucky enough, that you could be you and kind of play that role in a different way while still being yourself.
I love it. I love it. You should give talks, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. You do. So let's talk about, I have a couple quick facts that I know about you that I'd love for you to tell the stories behind them.
Sure.
You may not be doing this anymore, but have you ever heard of the show Hotel Impossible?
I have.
Okay. There's a guy named Anthony Melchiori.
Yeah.
Okay. So Anthony Melchiori was a guy who I kind of knew about 10 years ago, 12 years ago when I got into hotel rehabbing, because he's famous for hotel rehabbing.
Right.
And you and he are buddies. Do you still have a show together?
Yeah.
And could you tell us how that all
We do No Vacancy live with each other a few days a week, depending on our schedule. So the way that came about is I had quit my job and I started my current company with the No Vacancy podcast. And this was 6 years ago-ish that I reached out to him. I'm like, I'm going to get myself a celebrity on the show, and that's going to help me get more listeners, right? So I got him on the show, and we totally hit it off and had a great conversation. And I said, dude, I'd love to have you on again sometime. And he goes, how about we go right now? And I just recorded a second show with him. And about 2 months later, he calls me up. He's like, I'm thinking I want to do a podcast, and I think maybe I should do it with you, and you can teach me how to do it. And then I'm like, all right. So we started effing around. And then about 6 months later, after figuring it out, we started a show called Checking In with Anthony and Glenn that we were to record once a month and then run it twice a week. We did that for 6, 7, 8 months or something like that. And then COVID hit. And at that particular time, I'd started experimenting just before COVID with LinkedIn Live. It was a new thing at the time, and I had gotten access to it. And I started going around with these live broadcasts. And when COVID began, my whole life, just like so many others, so don't take pity on me, we all went through this. I woke up one morning losing 80% of everything. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to pay my mortgage next month, but I got LinkedIn Live. Might as well go on and commiserate with people. And I got a couple of my hotelier buddies to come on, and more came on, and we all started working together every single day to try to find a solution to this insane problem that was unheard of and completely unexpected. Very quickly into that, within the first couple of weeks, Anthony's like, hey, why don't I come on with you? And then we just started doing it together every single day, and we've been kind of together on that ever since.
Amazing. What's the schedule for that, by the way? I didn't realize you had that.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at noon. It's live, but of course you get it on download wherever you get your audio podcasts.
Now, I love hotels. Everybody in this listening audience has stayed at a hotel, but how do you talk about hotels all the time? What are the topics you guys are bringing up?
I get that question all the time, but I'm actually in, I think, the one business that you have more you can talk about than any other business on the planet. So people out there, I challenge you to have an issue with finding stories. I get to talk about stories that are financially focused. I get to talk about design stories. I get to talk about real estate stories. I get to talk about consumer behavior, F&B. I could go on and on. How about let's hear it for technology? Let's talk about landscape design today. Let's talk about how to be a great leader. Let's talk about empowerment issues to help you throughout your career in different ways. So really, it's completely limitless. And there's so many interesting individuals out there that the content comes quick and easy a lot of the times.
Wow. It's awesome.
You want to listen to it now? All right. So we want to say thank you so much for getting on the show. I want to just say you brought the heat, buddy. You gave us 3 steps to your success. You brought the ways to add value for others. You taught us about the flow zone. And you taught us how to meet Anthony Melchiori, which would be great. I think he might remember us. He and I talked a bunch of times. And we now know how to get on panels. You've taught us like 7 or 8 different.
He taught us how to be his authentic self, which a lot of people struggle with. I think that was an amazing nugget. Thank you.
And you talked about what Fishmas was. Fishmas.
Yes,
very Fishmas.
Best holiday
religious
of
holiday.
the year. Yeah.
All right, buddy. We will see you again soon. How can we all follow your work?
Yeah, you find me at Glenn Haussman on LinkedIn or at Traveling Glenn. I'm on either of those on all your social medias out there. Of course, novacancynews.com. Hire me for your next event. Have me come in, teach your people about the hospitality industry. Dare I say, have me on your board. I'm on a few advisory boards now, and I'm here to bring the love and success to everyone in here in our world. I'm Glenn at novacancynews.com. That's Glenn with 2 N's.
You've tried that. You've done that once before. Have you done that before?
All right.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks.
And we're getting on the happy hour.
Yeah, let's get on the happy hour.
Let's do that.
Yep.
See you, buddy.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Damn straight. We just got
Yeah,
to the end.
buddy.
We got to the end of another great show. And everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.